Hello and welcome to Tiny Table Talk for the Challenge World Championship episode 11. Realistically, this is post episode 11. This is a finals preview where I go over all the teams, talk about their chances of winning the challenge in my humble opinion. I will start from the team that I feel has the least likely chance of winning these finals and going through all the way up to the team that I think has the best shot of winning these finals. So, without further ado, let's get into team number 4. Now, in the 4th spot, I have Theo and Sarah. I do think that they are a physically strong team. However, from the evidence that we've seen from them this season, especially in competitions, they've been relatively fine. They haven't been so bad that they get last place and go directly into elimination, but they have not been that great that they have been able to win much of any daily challenges until you count the final daily challenge where they were pretty much gifted the win. And when I mean gifted, I mean Jordan and Kaz do everything to get Theo and Sarah that win, just short of them actually doing the math and giving them the answer explicitly. That's how much they gave them that win this past daily challenge. Now, this is not to say that I don't think Sarah and Theo could win, as Theo has gotten second place going through a very torturous final in season 33, but that was a couple of years removed, and even thinking about the more recent finals of the Challenge USA, and Sarah didn't have the best performance in those finals. There were a ton of wacky occurrences that happened during those finals that ultimately led Sarah to get all the way to the finish line and get that win next to Danny. I just think from what we've seen from them this past season, as well as taking into account the rest of the competition that are in the finals, the other 3 teams, I'm going to put them at 4th place as of right now. Now, let's go to team number 3. This is tough because I have Casey and Troy in my heart as the number 1 team that I feel is a strong team and I would like them to get the win. However, I worry for them. They have gone through the most adversity getting to the finals. I mean, such an unconventional way of how they became a duo, as both their partners had left the season. They got paired up with each other way late into the game, and then they had to go into 3 eliminations with each other. Casey has seen 4 total eliminations and won all 4 of them this season. I love Troy. He's one of my new favorite challengers, and Casey has really grown on me this season. So in my heart, I'm really rooting for Casey and Troy to get this win. However, there's a lot of question marks in my mind, especially with the case of Casey's endurance. In Casey's past 3 final appearances, I think the biggest hindrance for Casey has been her endurance. Thinking back to Total Madness, her math skills, I think, were a bigger hindrance than her endurance on that mountain. Luckily, she is partnered up with Troy, who does know his maths quite well, but we think back to Double Agents, where she was kind of falling back, maybe a little bit more in the middle of the pack, where Fessel was really pushing her to pick up her speed, which ultimately led to her injury, which could also possibly play a factor. It seems like she healed up pretty well, but you never know what could happen with that bad of an injury, as well as the eating portion really took them out, which that could also play a factor later on in these finals as well. I want to look at the Challenge 37 finals, the finals that Casey actually came out and won that season. She did not have a good showing in those finals. I mean, she was on the losing team. She didn't look that strong in endurance. She didn't look that strong on puzzles. And then she got last place in the team portion, which led her going into an elimination. And luckily she was able to pick CT as a partner. And even then, her and CT barely won those finals by a matter of 2 seconds when punching in their code and opening up their vault. And I guess I wouldn't be putting this much emphasis on Casey's endurance and if that would be a hindrance coming into these finals. But there is a portion in the previews where it looks like Troy is giving Casey a piggyback ride. Again, I am rooting for Casey and Troy coming into these finals because I feel like they are sizable underdogs, and I feel like they do have the potential and talent to hop over to get to second place. But as of right now, I think looking at the other 2 teams that I have ahead of them, I would tentatively put them in 3rd place. Now, this was really difficult for me to really put which team ahead of the other. One just slightly edges out the other one, in my opinion. So, with that being the case, in second place, I have Tori and Danny. Kind of like Theo and Sarah, really haven't shown much in this game competition-wise. Now, granted, maybe they never really wanted to win any of the daily challenges. They were insulated quite well on both sides of the house. If they were to have won into power, they would have had to pick a side, and that could have drastically changed their game and hurt them in the long run. But in saying that, they never won a daily challenge, they never lost a daily challenge to go directly into elimination. They were kind of at odds with each other throughout the whole season, but then they kind of got on the same page. They look to be the most consistent team heading into the finals. I think they have great endurance, they have great strength. Both showed great ability in their most recent final appearances. With Danny in the USA Challenge Finals, he was doing a great job. He was never really in the back of the pack. He was always keeping up with everybody, and he did quite well in puzzles, eating, and all that good stuff. Tori in Season 38's finals was rather incredible alongside Devin. She did great in puzzles. As long as there was a vegan option, she could eat. She has great physicality and really good abilities in finals, and she has that experience doing many of finals, as well as checking back to Season 37, where a lot of people considered her robbed, as she was one of the top performers in that challenge finals and outperforming a lot of the players that were in those finals, whether it was puzzles, whether it was endurance, or anything like that. I think coming into these finals, Tori and Danny are a really strong duo and have one of the best opportunities to win this final. I think out of the prior two teams that I just talked about, Danny and Tori have a serious contending shot to win these finals outright. But I do have them in second place behind who I have in first place, which is... Now, like I mentioned, I have Jordan and Kaz and Danny and Tori pretty even with each other, but when it comes to finals appearances, Jordan is a 3-time challenge champ, and he is 3 of 5 when in the finals. To me, that's a great winning percentage, and if Jordan is in the finals, I would put my money more so on him than not. As a duo, Jordan and Kaz have been absolutely incredible. Out of the other 3 teams that have made it to the finals, I think that they have been really, really strong in every competition they've been in. They have won a daily challenge, they have multiple second place finishes on the season. Yes, they got last place in one daily challenge, sending them directly into elimination, but that was when Jordan was chained up to a pole and Kaz had to do math by herself, which I doubt will be the case coming into the finals this time around. But what I found impressive was in the final daily challenge, Kaz was actually the one to figure out the riddle and the puzzle. And if Kaz and Jordan would have actually tried, I think that they would have handedly won the final daily challenge of the season. And just thinking back to the Challenge 38 finals, Jordan made those finals with Anissa, someone he begged to be just semi-athletic. And just being semi-athletic, they made it to 3rd place finish, as well as possibly could have made it to a 2nd place finish if they would have won the elimination round against Bananas and Nany. Kaz is not just semi-athletic, she is incredibly athletic. On the season, they were able to keep up with an Olympic swimmer, and it seemed like they had massive amounts of energy and worked really well with each other. Now, they did have some barriers of communication in the way Jordan has talked to Kaz throughout the season, where Kaz felt like she was a pawn in Jordan's game. Jordan and Kaz are such strong competitors that never really got in the way of how they performed in any of the daily challenges. And to me, they're coming in with the most momentum into the finals. And like I mentioned, Jordan being a 3-time challenge champ after going to 5 final appearances, that is a winning record that you cannot scoff at heading into the finals. So to me, that's how the landscape looks for these finals, coming into these finals. But that's just my opinion of where I have everybody ranked and how I think that they could do going into these finals. But what do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know down in the comment section below. Who do you have in 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. And now, let's get to this week's comment section. And the first comment comes from Dre, who says, "Nothing says I value the title of being the Challenge World Champion more than intentionally not trying to get 1st place in dailies, unwilling to vote competitors in, and volunteering to go into elimination." 100%. I couldn't have said it better myself. There has been points in this challenge spinoff where it just feels like the legends could take or leave winning when there's a ton of money on the line. and the title of World Champion. NYC Demon Diva says, there's no way I let anyone win after TJ said winners go to finals. I think all deals are out the door at that point. Exactly. I'm so happy to feel validated that somebody else felt the same way I did. It's like all deals are out the window. I got to keep myself safe. I understand we made a deal, but as long as I secure my seat to try to get the big bag of money at the end of this thing, that's all I care about, you know? Becca comes in with a comment saying, I really wanted Jordan and Kaz to break their deal too. Normally, I appreciate players sticking to their word, but Jordan and Kaz made the deal before they knew the winners of the next challenge would get a ticket to the final. In my opinion, once that was a factor, all deals are off. I think you bring up a good point, that they did make the deal before they knew. I'm sure they had an inkling that maybe this was the last daily challenge, this was the last time before heading into the finals. But my thought process was that if you're going to just sidestep the deal anyways by eliminating and sabotaging Emily and Yes and getting them out of the game anyways, why not just go all the way? Why not just secure your seat there? Emily and Yes are still going to be upset with you for sabotaging them anyways. Just go all the way, right? Just go all the way and win the thing. The kid Wanda says people have been voting themselves into elimination when they clearly didn't have to for the longest time, so I'm not sure why everyone is upset about it now. I actually want a fair, balanced, and nuanced conversation about this. When is acceptable and when is it not? Honestly, I think it's never really acceptable to vote yourself into elimination. If you want to send yourself into elimination because of a rivalry, that's fine. I still don't think it's smart. It makes for good TV, and if you really want to do it, do it. Or say like in season 8 Inferno, when CT sends himself to go into elimination to save his friend David from having to go in because he feels like he has a better shot of going in, taking out Shane and winning than say David, who is nervous to go into an elimination. I think that is fine too, to be like, you're confident enough to go in and go into elimination, win, and come back. I think that is totally fine. Is it smart? Again, no, it's not smart to just go in, vote yourself in. The problem I think I have with it being on this season is that it's less of people actually wanting to go into elimination to either prove themselves or save somebody. I think it's the idea that they're voting themselves because they know they're not going to be sent into elimination, all to just not say a name of a friend, in the sense that I'm worried about season 39. I'm worried about season 40, 41, future seasons that I don't want to say X, Y, and Z's name. I know I'm not going to be the one sent into elimination, so I'm going to just burn vote on myself, and I'm in the clear because my hands are all clean. I think that's what has everybody the most upset about people voting themselves in, because it's not that they actually want to go in. It's not like they're targeting somebody that they feel like they've been calling somebody out or somebody's calling them out, and so they want to show them something or go into elimination to prove themselves. They know they're not going in. So they would rather just say their own name and kind of put their hands up going like, well, hey there, Krista says, Tori making the most sense this episode was not on my Challenge World Championship bingo card, but here we are. That caught me off guard too, but it makes the most sense to me. I was like, why? Why are we doing this? Just easily put 2 in the bag for Yes and Emily, send them in, put on your comfy clothes, and get ready to watch a hall brawl instead of having to don your challenge gear, which now I guess makes the most sense because they're going directly into the final. So might as well already be in your challenge clothes, but at the end of the day, you could have been comfy and just chilling out and not had to worry about anything. Ryan D comes in a comment saying, when TJ said that voting for themselves meant everybody wants to play, I thought he was going to make all 4 teams compete besides Sarah and Theo. They could have had 2 matchups and the losers of each go again to see who was eliminated. I thought that too. There was a half a second when TJ said that, my heart dropped and thought, oh my gosh, we are going to get everybody in a massive hall brawl fight. Like, I was kind of excited, but when thinking about the logistics of it, I think that having 3 rounds of hall brawl would have been too much hall brawl at one point. I think the 2 loser teams would have been too battered and beaten a little bit to have to go up against each other in yet another round. But how epic would have that been? Just been like, you all voted for yourself, That's dumb. And guess why it's dumb? Because everybody now has to come down here and fight for your stance in the challenge finals. I mean, think of how everybody would be shocked and never vote for themselves moving forward again. Narissa comes in with a comment saying, finally, TJ did something about stalemate. I was screaming at my TV with excitement. I do believe TJ should have done that last week with the stalemate. He warned them the first time. Looking forward to the final. 100% agree, because after the first time I watched this episode and then thinking back to last week, and if he would have swapped it up then, where Darrell and Kiki could have picked anybody that they wanted to, first of all, they would have picked Jordan and Kaz to go up against. How epic would have that been? And then if that would have been the case, what would have happened with the voting ceremony then? With the swap up of now the losers getting to vote in and pick who they want to go up against, how would have that changed everything going into this voting ceremony and how everybody would have played it? Jonathan comes in with a comment saying, considering how much Emily struggled in her balls in elimination versus Sugar on Challenge Australia, I wasn't expecting much from her. I was pleasantly surprised to see her beat Casey in round 1. They have always edited Casey so dominating that it was shocking to see her in a vulnerable state. I kind of forgot about the balls in elimination against Sugar. I guess it's just the idea that Emily was going up against a boxing champion that both had strong endurance, that maybe they just tired each other out at the end of the day. So I think that maybe that didn't illuminate in my mind or was an epiphany in my mind, but I can see where you're coming from. And yeah, I thought the matchup between Emily and Casey was going to be a much more one-sided blowout, but Emily winning against Casey in round 2 made that third round of the women going so thrilling, because at that point, anything could have happened. I mean, does Casey learn from her loss to Emily in round 2, or does Emily blank out Casey at the end of the day? I mean, that was such a good hall brawl. That was such a good matchup. I think that was one of the most level, balanced matchups we have gotten in a hall brawl like ever. Taco Farm comes in with a comment saying the juxtaposition of Emily crying her eyes out along with Casey doubling down on the bell ringing after her win was hilarious. That was all that pent-up aggression of the rivalry that Casey and Troy was in with Emily and Yes, and getting that win had to feel good, especially after losing round 2 to Emily, and then Casey being like, this is why I'm a champ, this is why I'm here, and we made it to another. I think that's also plays a factor into it. Knowing that you're in the finals also was just exciting and like a victory lap with the bell. But that was really funny because Emily was like doubled over in the fetal position, crying hard. And all you hear is this bell just going off. I feel like Emily will never forget the ringing of that bell. And the final comment comes from Lexi Daisy, who says, let's never forget Amber making it so Casey can have a chance at that final. Let's be real. If Casey and Troy go on to win the world championships, I think she should get a cut of that money, you know? Get a little kickback for Amber for giving her spot up for Casey and Troy to be partnered up with each other and continue this journey and now make it into the finals. But that's just my opinion. And that is it for this week's Tiny Table Talk. What do you think about my analysis of all the teams? What do you think about the placements that I have for them? Do you agree with my placements? Do you disagree with my placements? If you disagree, let me know your placements for all the teams and your analysis down in the comment section below. I also want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge World Championship content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.